Many people spend their lives believing that salary is a kind of invisible frontier. They look at the amount they receive at the end of the month as if it were a closed box. This is what I have, this is what I can, this is what can be done. And by believing this, they end up always living at the same pace, always in the same place, always with the same possibilities. But Brian Tracy brings a powerful idea. Salary is not a limit, it's a starting point. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, he explains that salary works as fuel. It's not what holds you back, it's what propels you forward. It's like when someone fills up a car's tank. Some people use this fuel just to drive a few blocks, always afraid of spending too much. Others understand that this same fuel can take them to completely new places. The difference is never in the fuel, it's in the way each person decides to use it. And that's why so many people with similar salaries live completely different realities. Some see salary as the final destination, others as the first step to building financial freedom. The message is simple and profound. Salary doesn't determine the size of anyone's life. What determines it is the way each person chooses to use it. According to Robert Kiyosaki, the great turn in people's financial lives doesn't happen when they earn more money, but when they learn to decide with clarity what to do with each reel before letting it escape. He always repeats that the difference between those who grow and those who remain in the same place is in the ability to make money work in their favor and not against them. Many people spend first and think later. They receive their salary and, almost without noticing, start exchanging money for small daily impulses. These are quick, automatic decisions that seem harmless, but together build an entire life without progress. Kiyosaki states that transforming this reality requires awareness. It's the moment when the person looks at their own money and says, "Before I spend, I decide. Before I use, I plan." This is where transformation begins. When someone chooses to direct part of what they earn to build the future, instead of simply feeding the present, a new door opens. It's not about cutting everything, nor about living in fear of spending. It's about understanding that each financial decision is a vote for the type of life the person wants to have. For Kiyosaki, whoever invests today is protecting tomorrow. Whoever spends on impulse is just repeating yesterday. True change arises when the person discovers they can choose. And that this choice, when made with intention, is worth more than any salary increase. If you believe you can change your life starting with small decisions, like this video and write in the comments, "I will succeed." According to Robert Kiyosaki, the difference between those who grow financially and those who remain trapped in the same place lies in a silent decision that happens before money leaves the wallet. Many people spend as soon as they receive, moved by impulse, by haste, or by the feeling that they deserve an immediate reward. But this habit keeps anyone trapped in the same life pattern. Kiyosaki teaches that true financial transformation begins the moment the person chooses to think before spending. It's when they look at their own money and ask, "Does this bring me closer to the future I want, or does it just give me a quick sensation that ends in minutes?" Whoever chooses to invest before consuming begins to build something most never build: stability, growth, and freedom. It's like planting a seed. Some prefer to eat the seed now because it gives immediate pleasure. Others understand that if they plant it, later they'll have an entire tree producing fruit always. People who change their lives are those who understand that money shouldn't be used only to pay bills, but to create possibilities. And this change doesn't depend on salary, it depends on awareness. All financial progress begins when someone decides that the future is more important than the impulse of the moment. Two people can receive exactly the same salary, live in the same city, have similar opportunities, and still build lives that have nothing to do with each other. And according to Robert Kiyosaki, this happens because it's not the salary that separates a prosperous life from a tight life. It's the mindset. Some people take the money they receive and immediately think about how to spend it. They see salary as something that arrives to disappear: bills, installments, small momentary pleasures, impulse purchases, things that relieve for a few minutes, but cost months or years of tranquility. These are people who live in the cycle of working, spending, and always starting over from zero. Others, with the same amount in hand, have an opposite vision. They look at salary as a seed. They know that if they plant this seed every month, it grows. If they care for it with discipline, it multiplies, and over time, it transforms into freedom. Kiyosaki always repeated that the poor mind thinks about consuming and the rich mind thinks about building. The difference isn't in the wallet, it's in the head. One person decides to buy things, the other decides to buy future. And that's exactly why two people with the same salary can live extremely different realities. One drowns in debt, while the other creates assets. One depends on next month, while the other builds next year. One survives, the other grows. Many people believe they earn little, but in reality, they don't know where their own money is going. It's like carrying a bucket and not noticing there's a small hole in the bottom. Water escapes every day, and the person only notices when the bucket is empty. That's why experts insist that the first step for any financial transformation is simple, direct, and non-negotiable. Control and monitor everything that comes in and everything that goes out. When a person starts recording their expenses, something curious happens. They realize that small daily habits consume more money than they imagined. They also realize that some expenses don't even make sense, but repeat month after month without anyone questioning. Controlling isn't living trapped. It's not living counting coins. Controlling is gaining awareness. And awareness is what separates those who live on autopilot from those who choose where they want to go. When someone puts it on paper or on their phone, each entry and each exit, they start to see patterns, discover waste, and mainly discover opportunities. It's at this moment that the person manages to redirect part of what they spend to something more intelligent. Pay off a debt, form a reserve, invest, create a new future. The secret isn't in the size of the salary, but in the level of clarity. The more clarity the person has, the more power they have to transform their own financial life. Many people spend years believing that money simply isn't enough. They work, receive their salary, and when they realize it, everything is already gone. The feeling is that money evaporates, but in reality, it's not the money that disappears. It's people who don't track where it's going. This is the point where transformation really begins. Control and monitor each entry and each exit. It's not something complicated, nor does it require difficult formulas. Just write it down. The simple act of recording creates awareness, and awareness changes behavior. When someone starts observing their own money flow, they discover things they had never noticed. They see small expenses that repeat every month, automatic habits that drain the budget, choices made on impulse, and that seemed harmless. It's precisely in this analysis that many people have their first reality shock. The problem wasn't the salary, it was the lack of direction. From this understanding, money stops being an uncontrolled flow and becomes a strategic resource. When a person knows exactly how much comes in and how much goes out, they gain power. Power to cut excesses, power to reorganize priorities, power to decide intelligently. And that's how they begin to redirect part of what was previously spent without thinking, transforming this amount into something that really matters. Investment, security, freedom. Controlling money is like turning on the light in a dark room. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. You see what was previously invisible, and for the first time, you can choose the next step with intention. Many people believe they earn little, when in reality, they don't know where the money is escaping. It's like carrying a full bucket, but with small holes in the bottom. The person looks at the bucket and thinks everything is fine, until they realize it always arrives empty at the end. Therefore, the first real step of any financial transformation isn't in earning more, but in understanding exactly what already happens with the money that arrives every month. Controlling income and expenses isn't bureaucracy, it's clarity. It's the moment when each person finally sees their own financial behavior without illusions. When someone puts everything on paper or in a simple app, something starts to change. Small expenses that seemed invisible reveal themselves. Habits that were never questioned appear clearly, and for the first time, it becomes clear what is helping to build the future and what is just consuming energy. This process allows directing money intelligently. Instead of thinking that there's nothing left, the person starts deciding where they want it to be left. They stop being someone who reacts to money and become someone who commands their own financial flow. This is where real change begins, when every cent has a thought-out destination and not just an automatic destination. There's a simple principle that completely changes the way a person builds wealth. Pay yourself first. And despite being simple, it's usually ignored precisely because it seems too good to be true. The idea is clear. Before paying any bill, before buying anything, before thinking about any expense, the first person who should receive is you. It doesn't matter if it's little. It can be 5%, it can be 10%, it can be even less at the beginning. The amount is not the most important thing. What really transforms financial life is the discipline of separating a part of what comes in and treating it as something untouchable. This habit creates two important changes. First, the person starts acting like someone who values their own future. When they save before spending, they're sending a silent but powerful message. I deserve to grow. Second, they automatically start reorganizing the rest of their financial life. When the saved amount comes out first, expenses adapt to what's left, and not the opposite. It's the opposite of what most do, which is pay everything, spend a little more, and only then look at what's left. And almost always, nothing is left. Separating a part of salary for yourself creates a cumulative effect. Small amounts, repeated with consistency, become security, then become reserve, then become investment. And that's how, little by little, money starts working in the person's favor, instead of being just something that comes in and disappears. In any profession, there's a point where people realize something simple, but very powerful. Money is almost never directly linked to hours worked, but to the value each person delivers. Some remain trapped in the idea of exchanging time for money. They work more hours, get more tired, get more stressed, and the salary changes little. Others follow another path. They decide to increase their own value. They learn new skills, become more efficient, solve bigger problems, deliver better results. And naturally, they start earning more. It's like the difference between someone who carries buckets of water and someone who learns to build a canal system. Both work, but only one of them creates enough value to transform their own income. When a person grows, everything around them grows. Opportunities, recognition, the confidence they inspire, and over time, income also follows. This is the central principle. When someone focuses on improving themselves, the market notices. And sooner or later, money starts following this evolution. Many people believe that the only way to improve their life is by working more hours, wearing themselves out, accumulating tasks, and racing against the clock. But in practice, this rarely changes anything. What really transforms income is the ability to perceive which actions generate real results. There's a simple principle. In any profession, only a small part of what the person does is responsible for most of the results. It's those 20% that drive 80% of earnings. When someone identifies what these essential actions are, the game changes. It's no longer about running, it's about directing. It's no longer about doing everything, It's about doing what matters. Some people spend years trapped in tasks that don't increase their value, don't expand their skills, and don't open doors. Others choose to focus on movements that really elevate their income. Continuous learning, performance improvement, specialization, and delivery of real value. And it's this difference in focus that makes a salary start to grow. Not because the person works more, but because they finally work better, putting energy where the return is greater. The decisive point for any financial change is simple: knowing exactly where money is going. There's no financial freedom when money arrives and disappears without explanation. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much comes in, it always seems lacking. That's why authors like Kiyosaki insist so much on this principle. Before thinking about investing, increasing income, or multiplying wealth, you need to see reality clearly, and this starts with something basic, almost obvious, but rarely practiced: tracking each entry and each exit. When someone records what they earn and what they spend, everything changes. Small expenses reveal themselves. What seemed insignificant starts appearing on paper as a real weight. It's at this moment that the possibility of adjusting the path emerges. With information in hand, decisions become more conscious. Money stops being an unpredictable visitor and becomes a directed resource. Controlling and monitoring doesn't mean living trapped, but taking command. Whoever knows where money goes has the power to reallocate, cut excesses, and strengthen what really matters: education, investments, goals, and growth. This is the step that separates those who walk in the dark from those who finally turn on the light. At this point, the central idea is simple. Whoever wants to build stability needs to prioritize themselves before prioritizing any other expense. And this doesn't mean selfishness, it means financial responsibility. The concept of pay yourself first works almost like an automatic behavior that protects the future. When someone receives their salary and immediately separates a part, even if small, they create a personal rule. A portion of what comes in will always be destined for growth, not consumption. It's common to see people saying they'll save what's left over, but in practice there's almost never anything left. Bills grow, purchases increase, and the month runs faster than money. Those who pay themselves first do the opposite. They create a reserved space that no one touches, not even their own impulse. This habit generates something important: predictability. The person knows that, month after month, a part of their effort is being accumulated or invested, and over time, this small percentage starts creating visible results. Even 5% applied with discipline transforms into respectable wealth when repeated for years. This principle isn't about amount, but about consistency. It doesn't require large sums. It requires decision. According to Robert Kiyosaki, this process is the basis of building real wealth. It's not something complicated, it doesn't require luck, and it doesn't depend on being born on the right side of life. What really transforms is the discipline of repeating the same simple movement month after month. Kiyosaki explains that money grows when it's put to work. The person earns, separates a part, even if small, and transforms this into something that generates return. This return, instead of being spent immediately, goes back into the same cycle. It's reinvested, and it's this silent habit that makes wealth increase. He compares this process to a snowball that starts small. At first, almost no one notices a difference, but as it continues rolling, it gains weight, size, and speed. Money works the same way. It grows slowly at the beginning, then starts to accelerate. For Kiyosaki, the difference between those who prosper and those who remain stagnant is in continuity. Many people want quick results and give up when they don't see immediate changes. Those who understand this cycle remain firm because they know that real growth happens over time. True wealth building isn't in what you earn, but in what you keep, what you reinvest, and what you multiply. And this process, however simple it may seem, is what separates those who live off salary from those who create financial freedom. Kiyosaki always reinforces that there's a huge difference between those who sell hours and those who increase value. Most people work thinking only about the clock, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, expecting a fixed salary at the end of the month. But this path has a clear limit, because each person's time is limited. What really changes income, according to him, is something else: the value each person becomes capable of delivering. When someone learns more, masters new skills, understands how to solve bigger problems, and contributes with more important results, the market responds. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's consequence. That's why two people with the same available time can have completely different incomes. One continues doing just the basics. The other invests in learning, improving, practicing, growing. The difference appears in the pocket. Kiyosaki says the central question should never be, how long will this take? But, how much will this increase my value? Because whoever focuses only on hours stays trapped. Whoever focuses on value grows without depending on overtime. In the end, the central message is simple. Whoever takes control of money creates possibilities. Whoever lets money control their life continues trapped in the same results. Kiyosaki always repeated that true freedom isn't born from the salary amount, but from the way each person transforms this salary into something greater. Wealth doesn't appear suddenly. It grows little by little through conscious choices, discipline, and vision. That's why some people seem to advance each year while others remain in the same place. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's mindset. The person who decides to learn, invest, save a part of what they earn, and build assets is, day by day, approaching a lighter, safer, and freer life. And if you've made it this far, this already shows that within you exists the real desire for change. Now, only one thing is missing: action. Financial future improves when the person decides to improve what they do with their own money today. Before closing, let me ask you one important thing. If you believe you will succeed, that you really can transform your salary into the beginning of a more prosperous life, like this video and subscribe to the channel. This shows that you're truly committed to this change. And remember, what you do from here on is what defines the size of your freedom.